Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a wonderful Wednesday and a great week so far. There are only a few days of 2021 left, and that has us looking into 2022. And it looks like a very bright future for cryptocurrency holders. We know that the price action has been somewhat disappointing over the past 24 hours. We are, of course, going to get into that in this video. It's going to be a predominantly Cardano video. We're going to be going over some significant news, some big news from SundaeSwap. Their auditors are essentially happy with their code, and any sort of issues that they found have now been significantly or adequately fixed. So we're going to be covering this, why this is typically the last stage before somebody launches on mainnet. You know, SundaeSwap is any day now, ladies and gentlemen, so we are going to dive into that article. Of course, we are going to be, and I'm really going to be drilling this home to people. I think people are largely overlooking this, and perhaps it's because people haven't used DeFi before, or perhaps they just don't understand the concept of Cardano staking. But really, Cardano is going to offer double yields. So you, essentially, I'll break it down very quickly, are going to be earning rewards on your staked Cardano, but that Cardano essentially is somewhat liquid enough to be able to interact with protocols and earn yield on there. So you're going to be getting your staking rewards and on top of whatever rewards the protocol is offering that you're interacting with. And this is a tweet from SundaeSwap highlighting that this will be the case for liquidity providers, essentially. They'll be earning the fees that are generated from people transacting how ADAX works in and out of those pools. And they'll also be earning the staking rewards. And this is revolutionary. I farm a lot of DeFi and other protocols at the moment. Algorand at the moment, because it's sort of new, and a number of other smart contract protocols, but they don't really have this. And this is something amazing that's coming to DeFi as a space, and Cardano is really bringing it. So we are going to talk about that. I really want to talk about the overall market conditions. Now, we saw a sell-off yesterday. What caused this sell-off? Well, it was Bitcoin, of course. Certainly if you're talking about your altcoins, you know, if you want to know why Cardano sold off, it was indeed due to Bitcoin. How do we know this? It's not just a cop-out because the entire market sold off. Bitcoin is still very much that tide that rises and sinks all ships. And before we get into any of the news, we do cryptocurrency daily market updates, or certainly we have done up until the sort of festive period. But I really want to point something out, and it's been a huge sell pressure and really shaped the Bitcoin chart since May. And it's been a largely negative pressure. There's been some positives in it. And of course, talking about China and their tight cryptocurrency regulations and how this really kicked off in May and has affected the chart since then. You can see we sort of sold off in May. We first started with them banning Bitcoin miners. That saw the hash power literally half. Now it's kind of where it was prior to that. And it's great because that's actually allowed the network, the hash power, to become more decentralized. If this is going away over your head, guys, bear with me because I'm going to tell you why. Going into next year, there's, you know, a lot of this sell pressure is going to be taken off the table. We've then seen them kind of clamp down on cryptocurrency exchanges and not being able to service their sort of citizens. The Chinese citizens, they've said, you know, you can't really use cryptocurrency exchanges. So that's essentially, not only a lot of the miners become forced sellers, the actual hodlers within China have become forced sellers because they can no longer interact without going through things like VPNs and risking, I don't know what the punishment over there would be. They become forced sellers, and this has seen a huge sell pressure. And we have a lot of data to suggest that this is the case. This really, we've seen the majority of this sell pressure, and we're seeing it wane. And this has had a lot to do with a lot of things. You can see here, this is the Asia month-on-month change in Bitcoin price, change in Bitcoin price during the Asian working hours. And you can see that the sell-offs have typically been, you know, we had a big sell-off recently, which is really, you can see that within the chart. So that sell pressure is coming to an end with the end of the year. That's when the clamp really kicks into effect, if you will. People have had kind of a grace period of somewhat. So the majority of that sell pressure has dissipated. This ties in with how we think next year is going to look, and the fact that we think that the Bitcoin cycle is lengthening. Not just the Bitcoin cycle now, the crypto cycle. And we're going to enter more of a longer, drawn-out adoption curve, if you will. You know, one of the main value propositions of cryptocurrency is that it's still very early as a space. This is technology that in the future people are going to use without even knowing it, in the same way that the internet is really one of the core protocols that everybody interacts with on a day-to-day life and really doesn't even think twice about it. That's the adoption curve crypto's on. And at $2.2 trillion, there's a lot of growth to come from that. Now, with any emerging market, talking about yesterday's sort of volatile price action, there is exactly that volatility. Because it's emerging, it's small, there might be liquidity issues here, so on and so forth. What we have seen, and I'll bring this up because this is certainly something that I've spoken about in great detail and we've covered in relation to showing that institutional investors are buying Cardano is CoinShares weekly report. This saw one of the largest weekly outflow on record, totaling 1.42 million. Now, this was mainly in Bitcoin and Ethereum. You do see this at the end of years typically because people take profits at the end of a year and they'll redeploy capital in January. So there's so much going on. It creates a very volatile market class. Keep that long-term vision in mind, ladies and gentlemen. You know, crypto is here to stay. Cardano, in my opinion, is absolutely here to stay. And it's for reasons like this that it's going to really revolutionize and open the world up to higher yields in regards to DeFi due to how the staking consensus works. So let's talk about the Sunday swap news. That's enough. I just thought that was important to kind of get that general message out here about the sort of market conditions. The Chinese selling pressure is waning now, certainly Asia selling pressure. So let's talk about the Sunday swap news. Sunday swap. Today, we are pleased to announce the audit is complete for the Sunday swap protocol. Our experience work with RV Inc. has been nothing short of spectacular. Read brief about our experience. We'll jump into the ADA price once we've covered this, guys, because you've done something that I quite like to see. You've actually bounced off your sort of golden ratio, your 0.618, which is a nice little bounce, but we need to find strength here. But we'll talk about that in just a second. So this is the article. Essentially, it's stating that the audit from runtime was successful and any issues that they had were solved. So I'll read the first little chapter and then we'll move on to the second part. So Sunday Swap Labs Incorporated is pleased to announce that Runtime Verifications RV has finished its security audit of the Sunday Swap protocol. All issues that were identified by the audit have been resolved to the satisfaction of the auditor's validation process. RV will publish a full report detailing the findings, including a verification of all solutions put in place to satisfy the audit requirements. We'll update this announcement as soon as a link is available to their full audit. Now, this is the first sign of DeFi, really. This is a protocol, given their sort of social media following, that's going to have a lot of interaction with it. And with other DEXs, we've gone into the reasons why DeFi eats Cardano up, and it's going to take a lot of the supply off the table and have a big buy pressure. DEXs are a key example of this because people will typically have to buy ADA to swap in and out of the tokens that they desire. Not only that, a lot of ADA gets taken off the table by getting locked into the liquidity pools. And this is going to be very popular, in my opinion. We know that in regards to staking, remember, guys, we do have the All-In crypto pool. All-In is the ticker. Those of you that are looking for a pool to delegate to, we didn't mean to block this epoch. And as you know, we've lost quite a few people to Sunday Swap. We're hoping they come back. But, you know, it's up to people what they want to do with their Cardano. But if you guys are looking for a pool to delegate to, certainly give us a look in. All-In is the ticker. We know 71% of Cardano already is already staked. You know, when you couple this in with the fact that people are now going to be using it to farm liquidity on, or farm the fees from liquidity providing on Sunday Swap, and they're actually still going to be able to stake their ADA while doing this. So lots of people are asking, okay, well, does that mean that people are going to take their staked ADA out? You actually don't need to do that predominantly because you'll be able to, same with a lot of the borrowing and lending protocols. Liquid Labs, for example, have stated that that'll be the case with them. Cardano, we looked into that. You'll actually be able to stake your Cardano and lend essentially your Cardano in a roundabout kind of way and earn rewards on it. From the protocol side of things and the stake pool side of things. So this is huge, and this is something that most DeFi protocols haven't even thought of, and it has a lot to do with the consensus mechanism behind proof of stake. We are reading, or I am certainly reading, Ouroboros, some of the papers published on Ouroboros. As I'm not very technical, it's taken me a little bit longer than I'd have liked to get through them, but it is certainly very interesting and really shows you that, you know, you can tell these papers have been wrote by far, far smarter individuals than myself. So this is something that's absolutely huge and largely overlooked. Sunday Swap, given that the audit was successful, this is typically the last stages before they move into, you know, I followed the POLKADOT ecosystem, took in a lot of the parachain loans. A lot of them have been successful. You know, an audit was kind of the final thing that POLKADOT did before they, or certainly did in the run up to them releasing and going ahead with the parachain auctions. So this is a really good sign, and I can't wait. The second this becomes on mainnet, we will be doing you a video where we'll be swapping in and out of tokens. We'll be using and providing liquidity. You name it, we'll be doing it to show you just how things work. And you know, if that's something you guys want to do, you can sort of, it's a guide, if you will. So we saw, like I say, a lot of institutional outflow. This is just because of the end of the year. This sell pressure from China, due to the kind of regulatory landscape, is coming to an end for Bitcoin predominantly. There'll be other cryptos that would have been thrown in with that, but this is going to take off a huge sell pressure. And one thing that we have seen, which has been amazing, is we have seen Chinese sell pressure, but we've actually seen EU buy pressure to meet this, and US buy pressure to meet this. So this is a hugely positive side. So if you've got that buy pressure and you take away that sell pressure, how markets work and how they're calculated in terms of how a price is set, you'll see an increase in price as it's demand driven. So that's really all I have for you in this video, guys. I'm going to love and leave you on that note. I understand that this price action is choppy. It's disappointing. It's a kind of trait. Very quickly, actually, we didn't talk about the price. So this is an impulsive move, and this is still a retractive move because we bounced perfectly off the 618 if you use your retracement tool sort of the right way up. This is a good sign. This also coincides with a previous descending resistance level that you've actually found support on. So as providing that we find strength, and we do indeed need to do that, so those are going to be tethered to Bitcoin. We don't want to go in and put in new lows. There could be the possibility that you see a similar structure like that taking place over here, where we kind of come down, consolidate, maybe bounce off this ascending support before we see continuation. This is the pattern that I believe Bitcoin is in, and we're going to see continuation at the back end of it. We think that ultimately this cryptocurrency bull market is going to go into next year, and you know, we're now in more of an adoptive sort of stage for crypto, whereas we've largely been tethered to the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory and everything associated with that. So that's really all I have for you. I'm going to love and leave you on that note, guys. Have a fantastic Wednesday. I'll catch you all tomorrow on Thursday. More videos coming out tomorrow, and we have got a ton of videos coming out in the new year. We're going to be aggressively making content. All I have for you. Have a wonderful Wednesday evening.